Hi, welcome to today's edition of Optix Topix. Today we're talking about mindful employers. And today we're talking to the founder, one of the founders of Optix Solutions, Alistair Banks, and he's going to talk about why Optix has joined the Mindful Employer Charter.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
I feel humbled to be on today. So we've literally just signed up to the Mindful Employer Charter. The reason we've done that is because one of the guys that works here is going through a particularly difficult mental health illness, and we are very keen to support them with that. And you know, mental health costs businesses all over the UK an awful lot of money. I think I read a stat, something like 8 million a year or somewhere in that region. The other thing that I know a lot about, I've got friends that are affected by this as well, and 1 in 4 people suffer from some sort of mental health illness, which means that in a team here, you know, we've got at least a few, if not more, here that, you know, maybe we don't even know about. So I want to create an environment here where people feel good about talking about it, or able to talk about it and come to us as the owners of the business.
Supporting mental health is something that is good for staff and good for business. And what are the methods that you think businesses can take to better support mental health in the workplace? So
there's lots that we can go into, and hopefully you'll see and read the blog that we put into this newsletter. So that goes into a lot more detail than we're going to talk about in this video, but we come up with these 3 C's. So the first C is all about being compliant, the second C is all about being consistent, and the third C is all about being compassionate. So I think we're going to delve into those in a bit more detail now.
So what sort of methods do you think work best to help employers be more compliant for their employees?
So I think really this comes back down to kind of flexibility throughout the workplace. A couple of areas of that takes shape is, in one area is the kind of working hours. So, you know, having some flexibility around what time people come in the mornings. If they struggle in the mornings, then maybe they want to work a little bit later and come in later. Perhaps a reduction in hours as well is something that we've kind of dealt with one of our people. Flexibility in kind of the workspace as well. So, you know, having a laptop so that they can work from home instead of a desktop and feeling they have to come into work is one area. Additional training is another thing. If they feel like they need support in that area, then we'll always look to do that. And the other one, which is slightly probably more intangible really, is the management style as well. So I directly line manage the person that I was talking about at the very beginning of this video, and I've noticed, and as we've learned from each other, that we have to adapt, or I have to adapt my managerial style to that person to suit their kind of moods and their needs as well. And that just means that we have a much better relationship as well. So struggled with that a little bit at the beginning, but actually now we've got a really, really good relationship, and yeah, we get on very, very well.
And how does consistency help to support wellness in the workplace?
So I think this is actually a broader topic really than just kind of mental health or health in general. Consistency from a managerial perspective is very, very important, because there's nothing worse than acting differently with different members of the team. But it's also quite a hard balance to find when you're talking specifically about mental health, because people who have conditions don't want to be treated differently, but you know, ultimately you do actually have to in certain cases. So consistency really comes down to making sure that the door is always open to be able to talk about things. And the way that we do that here at Optix, we used to have yearly reviews, now we have quarterly reviews. So it gives everybody, not just people who are suffering with any kind of illness, but everybody in the business the chance to come and talk to their line managers and the directors as well on a regular basis, so that they know that they can have those open and honest conversations with us. And so moving it to quarterly just meant that that was a more regular occurrence. But equally, the door is always open as well. So it's not just that they have to wait for that next 3-month block. They can come and chat to us at any point. And you know, I think we have in signing up to this mindful employer charter, we're again saying, look, it's okay to talk about this stuff. If you are suffering, then come and chat to us, and we'll see how we can support you and do a better job with you on a daily basis.
So our final note is on compassion, and compassion is not a word that you very often hear batted around in workplaces, but compassion is very important. And how do you think that helps to support the workplace?
So I think compassion is an interesting one, because to have compassion, I think you have to have empathy, but this is also very difficult, because if you've not been through any kind of mental health issues yourself, then it's actually quite hard to understand what someone's going through. And I think the natural reaction is just to or natural question quite often if you see someone's down is to say, are you okay? Very easy for a kind of closed question, so very easy for someone to say, yeah, I'm alright, or not really today, but you leave it there. So what I've learned really, and I guess this comes down to the individual circumstances of the person and what they're going through themselves, but is actually it's better to kind of dig a bit deeper as well, and not pretend that you know everything, because you're not a doctor, you're not a medical professional, but that you want to show that you care. So you might need to actually ask a little bit more about how they're getting on that day, what is causing them the challenges that day. If they've gone out to a doctor's appointment, how did it go? Just show that you understand a little bit more, and that you genuinely care, rather than just saying, are you okay, which is the easy option. I think one of the challenges for mental health people suffering is that it's a bit of a vicious circle really, because if the employer isn't compassionate or shows empathy, then that person can become more and more anxious, just because they're worried that that person that line manages them isn't going to know how to deal with it, or care, or just want them to do their job better. So that's something we've worked on really hard here, is to try and show that compassion as much as we can. Ultimately, this is a business, and we need to make sure that that business works and that it isn't affected. But I think that's where getting a plan in place is really important. So, what happens if someone can't get in that day because they're having an episode? What happens? Is there a backup in place? So, that's the kind of thing that we've worked on quite hard here at Optix, and we need to get better, as with everything, but we've worked really hard on that bit in particular.
Thank you for joining us today on Optix Topics. Before we go, Alistair, have you got any other points to add regarding supporting wellness?
I think I'll just sort of summarise really, if that's okay. Coming back to the beginning of the video, 1 in 4 people suffering from mental health in the UK today, that's a huge number. And I think there's been lots of campaigns recently that have tried to get people to talk a lot more, but I think there could probably be more done. And I believe, as a business owner myself, and hopefully there'll be other business owners watching this, that it's our responsibility to try and make sure that it's okay for our staff to actually talk to us about these things, because that's the only way things are going to get better. If they don't feel like they've got that environment to do that, then it's only going to get worse, and that's going to affect their business or your businesses as well. So a couple of quick resources I'll add in as well. We talked about Mindful Employer. I think it's mindfulemployer.net. If you Google it, you'll find it. They have loads of great information about what you can do to be a mindful employer, but also how you can work with people in your business. And Access to Work is another one as well, which I think is probably government backed, not certain on that, but they give you loads of information about what you need to do, especially around things like reasonable adjustment, which we've talked about today. So that's how I end it. I think it's just a massively important subject. It's one that's a bit taboo, and that's kind of why we wanted to bring it out today, really, isn't it, and talk about it and just show what we're doing. So hopefully someone will watch this video and think, that's what I should be doing as well. If you'd like to tell us what you're doing to support workplace resilience and workplace wellness, let us know in the comments below. Thank you for joining us today on Optix Topics. Thank you so much, Alistair, for your time. Thank you for having me. Lovely. Thank you.